Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to One More Line. Today we're going to be talking about CP and MV, which are the copy and move commands. These commands allow you to copy and move things around your Linux distribution, as well as rename files using MV. These are the same across pretty much any Linux distribution, so whatever you're using, you can follow along on, or spin up a VM in something like VirtualBox if you like. If you need help on how to do that, you can check out my recently uploaded video about installing a distribution on VirtualBox. Works for whichever one you want to use. One other thing I do want to mention here is you're going to need sudo access or root access to be able to do this lab. You're not going to be able to do it without it. You will need sudo privileges. All right. So without further ado, let's get started here. Okay. The first thing you're going to want to do is turn on your instance or your machine or whatever you're using, your VM, power it up, and you're going to want to open the terminal. You can see I already have it opened here. If you don't, just turn it on, open your start menu or application menu or what have you, depending on whatever you're using. And if it's not right there, start typing terminal in the search bar. And there you go. It'll pop right up. Okay. So you can see I already have mine open. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to need some files for this lab, okay? Now we could move files around that already exist, but we don't want to do that. We're going to create some specific files and directories for this lab, right? So that way you can also, while you're creating them, get a little bit of a better understanding on how all this stuff works and navigating around, the file system on your own. It helps a lot more to create them on your own than just using ones that already exist, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say ls and see what's in the directory that we're in. All right, so we're in our root directory right now, okay? And you can see we have all these directories right here. Like I said, we're not going to be using one of these. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a directory. And to do that, we're going to say mkdir, and then we're going to name our directory. I'm going to call this directory test directory. All right. Now, I don't want you to worry about mkdir. That's beyond the scope of this video. All it really stands for is make directory. Okay. There's more to it than that. I mean, simply, it does just do make directory. Just creates a directory, but we're not going to go more in depth on it in this video. Okay. Really, though, honestly, that's all you'll probably ever need to know about it. We could go really in depth on pretty much anything, but understanding what it does and how it works when it comes to something like mkdir is pretty much all you're going to really need to know. So as you can see now, I threw an ls again. We have our test directory right here in between templates and videos. Your mileage may vary. It may be in a different spot. All that matters is the directory was created, okay? So now that we have our test directory, we're going to create one more directory inside that directory. Instead of going into that directory to do it, though, with cd, we're just going to say mkdir, okay? And then we're going to say test directory. If I could type. Oh, geez. I always mess this up. We're going to say test directory. Then we're going to say another test directory. Okay? And then you'll see, we'll go into it just to show you that it was created. You don't have to follow me along on this part. So now we're in test directory, and we can see we have one more directory chained onto test directory called another test directory, okay? So if you're lost at this point and you're wondering what this means, okay, I'm gonna do it on the desktop to help you understand a little bit more. Because that's cool, man. If you're a beginner, right, some of this stuff can be confusing at first, especially in the command line, all right? From the desktop, I'm going to show you what we did in the GUI version, okay? So I'm going to go here. I'm going to say new folder. I'm going to say test. I'm going to say okay. So when we did mkdir the first time, that's what we did in the CLI, right? So then to open this up and then make another directory inside here, okay, so this is what we did, right? We made a folder inside a folder, okay? So we have two folders. I'm going to delete that because we don't need it for this video, but I just wanted to show you exactly what we were doing. Okay? I'm going to open this back up here. I'm going to say clear to clear up the terminal, okay? And then we're going to say cd tilde, which will take us back home, if you remember from my older videos, okay? So now that we're back home, we have our directories, right? We can see that we have our directories with ls. We have test directory. We know the other ones inside it, okay? We need our file still. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a file called a test, or whatever you would like to name it, right? I'm going to call it a test.txt. So I'm going to say sudo nano a test.txt. All right. And this is where it's going to ask you for your password if you're not already logged in as sudo. So I'm going to say my password. All right. And then I'm just going to say in here, this is a test file with a little happy face on the end, all right? So then after we do that and we enter something in here, what you're going to do, the easiest way to save this and exit out is you're going to press Control S and then Control X, all right? So now we're going to do ls again, and we can see that we have our file, attest.txt, okay? We want to see what's in it, we can say cat attest.txt. Now we don't really need to check it because we know what's in there, but I'm kind of just trying to help you with that repetition so you can remember some of these more basic level commands, okay? All right, so now we need 2 more files, right? 2 more that we need. But instead of just creating them with nano again, oh, and by the way, I didn't really explain what that was, right? So sudo stands for super user do, right? Sudo, okay? That stands for super user do, right? Now, we could do 20 videos on sudo alone, okay? Going in depth on sudo is far beyond the scope of this video, and it's not really required to understand how any of the stuff that we're going to do in this lab works, right? So I'm just going to explain the basics of it, okay? And this is basically a metaphor to understand what you're doing with sudo, all right? So when you're not root on a computer, you need permission to do things from the root user sometimes, right? Not everything, but some things, like create a file, okay? And it's going to vary too depending on computers, but let's just leave that alone and say for some things you're going to need permission. So think of it like this, right? Say you're in your house and you're a little kid and you got your mom and dad there, and you're playing with your toys and you want to play with a different toy, or you want something, right? And you have to ask them for permission, right? So you say, Mom and Dad, could I have the remote for the TV so I can watch TV, okay? That's what you're doing here. You're asking for permission, right? Since you're not root on the computer and you're not a trusted user, technically, you're saying, can I have permission to do whatever action it is you're doing, which in this case was create a file. So we're asking the administrative root user for permission, okay? And we gain that by entering the password, okay? So the next command we used was nano, okay? Nano is just a text editor. Just like the regular text editor on your computer, the very basic one, you open it up, you can make all sorts of files with it. You can make a TXT file like we did, HTML, CSS, Python, whatever. You can do it in nano, okay? So basically, this means, hey, root, can I make a file in nano? And I'm going to call it test.txt. So in translation, this command right here says, hey, root, can I make a file? I want to call it attest.txt. That's it. That's all that command did, okay? Instead of doing that again, though, we're going to do something else. So we see that we have our file here, right? We're going to use the cp command, which is what one of the commands this video is about. We're going to use copy, okay? So to do that, we're going to say cp, and then we're going to say attest test1.txt, okay? Because that's the name of the file. Now with copy, you have to always use the path, okay? So before we finish this, let me show you something really quick here. Now, if your distribution that you're using is like mine and it shows the path next to your name, you'll see a tilde right now, which is it's shorthand basically for this. So this is the path to where we are right now, home/catrat, okay? We don't have to use the full path. We can just use the tilde, okay? Which is why I was showing you that. So we're gonna say cp, we're gonna say test.txt, okay? And then we're gonna put tilde \, okay? And then we have to name the copy that we're gonna make because it of course can't be the same name as the file that we already have, okay? So we're gonna say test1, okay? And hit enter. Now hit ls again, and we can see it copied the file, all right? If we say cat test1, we can see it also copied what was inside the file, okay? Now, of course, we still need one more, so we're gonna say clear, okay? And then this time, we're gonna copy to a different directory, okay? So we're gonna say ls so we can see our files and see the names, all right? And now we're gonna copy a test1, but we're gonna copy it to test directory, okay? So we're gonna say cp, we're gonna say test1.txt, and by the way, in most distributions, in Ubuntu for sure, in pretty much any newer distribution or up-to-date distribution, you can do an autocomplete with tab, okay? So you see how it looks like I typed that very fast there, right? Once what you're typing is unique enough for it to know what you're gonna say, you can press tab to autocomplete it. So if this was the only file, test was the only file in this, in this directory that started with A, we could literally just type in A and press tab and it would autocomplete it, okay? But it has to be unique. So since there's two of them that start with these letters, right? Once we get up to this second underscore right here, then we can press tab and it'll finish the rest of what we're typing. So, but you can do that with anything, with a file, a directory, whatever. As long as it's unique enough for it to differentiate what you're trying to fill out, it will work, okay? Okay, so back to the command. We're saying we're gonna be copying a test1.txt to test directory. So we have to do our path. So we're gonna say tilde, \, and then we're just gonna say test directory, okay? And then what we have to do again, we gotta rename it. So we're gonna say test2.txt, all right? Then we're gonna hit enter. All right, now if we say ls, we don't see it because we copied it to test directory. So let's move to test directory, and to do that, we're gonna say cd test directory, and we're gonna say ls, and there we are. You see that we have our other directory, another test, then we have a test2.txt, which is what we just moved here, okay? So that is copying files, all right? And there's more to it than that. If you want, you can check out the man page for some more in-depth stuff when it comes to copying files, right? To do that, you're just gonna say man cp, all right? And you can look into this and find some more in-depth ways and more things you can do with the cp command. And press Q to exit out of that. I'm gonna hit clear again one more time and say ls. So now we're gonna move on to move, which is mv, all right? So we have this in another test directory. Say we wanted to move this back to the home directory. It's actually really simple, okay? So we're just gonna say mv, and remember you can press tab to autocomplete. Oh yeah, sorry. Now we can press tab. If you don't put the under, there's two A's. So we have A and A. So after you get to the underscore, you can press tab to autocomplete. So we're gonna say move a test2.txt, And then for our path, we're just going to put tilde, okay? And hit enter. Now we can see it moved. We do cd ... to go back, and we can see all three of them are now in our home, our root directory, okay? So we have all three files. Moving that was actually very simple. If you do that from any directory, no matter how deep you are, it's going to send it back to the home directory with that simple command, move attest2.txt to tilde, which represents where we are right now, or our root, our home, okay? So what if we want to move it deeper? Well, just like the cp command, we can do that. We can move all the way down to the second directory that we made, or any, as far as we want, really, so long as we type the path. But we're going to move all three of these files into another test directory, okay? So we could type all these out, right? Instead of typing them all out, we're going to do it with one simple command, okay? And this is called a wildcard, what we're about to do. Or it's really just an asterisk, okay? But it's referred to as a wildcard. So the first thing we're going to say is we're going to say move mv, and then we're going to type in asterisk.txt. Then we're going to type our path, all right? Which is going to be test directory, and then another test directory. Now, before we send it, I'm going to tell you what this is doing. Probably already figured out just by looking at it, but this represents that all these files here, a test1, a test2, and a test, are all going to be moved because they end with txt. So you could have another file too named dinosaur.txt. As long as it ends in .txt, it's going to move the file, okay? We're going to hit enter, and then say ls, and we can see they're all gone. We can say cd, test directory, another, and there they are, okay? So we were able to move all those files by just typing a few characters, all right? Much shorter than typing it all out. Now, this will also work with copying, okay? But you have to copy it to a different directory, okay? So if you want to move or copy multiple files at once, this is how you can do it. Or you don't have to do it into a different directory, but you're going to have to do it. You can't do them all in the same because you have to rename them. So just bear with me and you'll see what I mean, okay? So we're going to copy all of these back home, okay? And to do that, we're just going to do this, okay? We're going to say cp wildcard txt, and then we're just going to say, okay? Now we see our files are still there. We can see they were also copied here, okay? Now, as far as I know, if you want to rename multiple files in a copy, the only way to do it is with a script. If I'm wrong, somebody let me know in the comments. I'm sure somebody will. But as far as I know, at least in Ubuntu, in Kali, which are the main two distributions that I use, you can certainly rename more than one file at once, but you need a script to do it. And that's like far beyond the scope of this video. I'm not going to have you guys writing scripts yet. This is meant for like introductory level stuff. So if you want to copy more than one file using a wildcard, you're going to be moving it to a different directory, okay? I also said that you could rename files, right? Now you can rename files using copy as well, but the way to really rename a file is going to be with move, okay? With move, it's much more simple. You don't have to type out the path every time. If you're in a directory and you want to rename it, you can literally just say move, and we'll rename a test. We'll say test.txt, and let's name it dinosaur.txt. All right. Now we can see a test was renamed to dinosaur. okay? And we can see that it still is the same thing inside the file. This is a test file. So there we go. That's copy and move, okay? And a little extra in between, including the wildcard. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in a comment down below. Thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy your night or morning or whatever it is for you.